AskRedd by Adventurous Home 555. What's a TV show that was huge at its time but is kind of forgotten about today? The Drew Carey Show. Can't seem to find any seasons streamable anywhere either. It's because of the music rights. They used a lot of music that they don't have the rights to for streaming or DVDs. The Wonderful World of Disney. If you were a kid in the 70s, you never missed it on Sunday nights. The weekend started with Hanna-Barbera and ended with Disney. No one remembers 30-something. Watched a few episodes as a kid and thought they were all old. At the same time period, LA Law. My wife watched 30-something and I absolutely hated it. It was a TV show with multiple seasons covering the depressing middle-age crap that is usually relegated to a single 90-minute movie. You can still see echoes of it in more recent shows like Happy-ish that also want to make you slam your head in the door. Horrible whiners, all of them. Perfect Strangers. It was never great, but there was real chemistry between Borky and Larry, and they had great physical humor. And the upstairs neighbors were the Winslows, who eventually moved out to the suburbs and got their own show Family Matters. Which is another show that's kind of faded into obscurity. Urkel was everywhere for a while. America's Funniest Home Videos. It was the source for caught on camera shit back in the day when you needed a $$$ camcorder to capture anything. And the baby won every fucking time. Murphy Brown, such a classic. Candice Bergen played Murphy Brown, who was a newswoman. She was an icon. They had Murphy get pregnant as a single woman and VP. It was a big to-do. I've been waiting for that to hit streaming for years. As a little girl growing up in DC, she was my role model, who I later realized sold me an over-optimistic bill of goods about being a working woman. Still golden. The reboot was such a disappointment, however. Dallas. Who Shot JR? I was just a kid, but even I was hooked. They later had an entire season be a dream. Patrick Duffy wanted to start a movie career so left the show. The ratings for Dallas took a shit and Larry Hagman took Duffy and his wife out to dinner to convince him to come back. And it was his wife that suggested that his death could just have been a dream. Since his action career didn't even get started, he agreed to return, having some storylines that asked for some action for him to do. Not only did Duffy coming back put a lot of people out of work on Dallas, it also caused problems for the spin-off show, Knots Landing. See, the writers of Dallas didn't tell the writers of Knots Landing what they were planning. And since they shared a connected universe, it pissed them off so much that instead of trying to work it out, they just never mentioned Bobby again in any of their scripts. Soap and Amp, its spin-off, Benson. Airwolf. Ally McBeal, Mad About You. Single Female Lawyer is our favorite show. Alf. But he's back, in POG form. Northern Exposure. That was such an outstanding show. Well-drawn characters, a superb sense of place, and one of the most artful portrayals of the fish out of water theme. Melrose Place. All-time banger theme song. Third Rock from the Sunday. I mean, more reference will pop up here and there, but it's pretty quiet. Man, if this is what you need to drive a car, imagine what you have to do to get a gun at the DMV. Wings. Gets overshadowed by Cheers and Seinfeld. The Carol Burnett Show. This variety show was huge in the 1970s, running from 1967 to 1978. The scenes with Tim Conway and Harvey Korman were classic. Conway could get Korman to break character all the time. The show was filmed twice, once in the afternoon, and once in the evening, and then they used the best scenes from each for the final broadcast. It was a must-see at the time. It's so fun to get lost in a YouTube Tim Conway rabbit hole. I watch the show religiously. Carol was, and is, an idol of mine. The Wonder Years. We are farther away from the finale of The Wonder Years than The Wonder Years is from the era it shows. Basically, we are older than the show is to the late 60s. Saint Elsewhere. I mean, it gave us the Tommy Westfall universe. Pete and Pete. Deleted. Goodnight John Boy. Coach. This comment is too far down. Great show. Deleted. The popularity of Desperate Housewives led to the creation of the Real Housewives reality show franchise, which is massive. So even though Desperate Housewives has disappeared from the zeitgeist, its influence hasn't. MacGyver. Maybe it's just because I was a kid at the time, but this was the coolest show ever. Then The Simpsons had a long-running gag where Patty and Selma were MacGyver superfans that they eventually had to abandon because nobody remembered MacGyver anymore, and The Simpsons is still on the air. MacGyver, Airwolf, and the A-Team were my triangle of awesome. Haha. Mad About You, 1992. Yes. Nobody knows who Helen Hunt is anymore, and to think she was as big as Jennifer Aniston back then. House of Cards was one of two shows that put Netflix on map back in its day. It was going strong too, until some unpleasant news, to say the least, effectively killed the show. True. It went from the most impactful show to a spectacular crash because of him. Some foreboding premonition there,